I don't think anybody who's successful is successful by accident. There are years when nothing happens in your life, and there are days when years happen. If you've seen somebody do it, then it works then, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're not getting the results, then the problem has to be you. There's always an opportunity in a problem. Yes, we have got very high interest rates, but what is the opportunity?
Success is not surprise. Success is based on hard work and hard graft.
Now is the best time to get into property.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by a very interesting property entrepreneur who I know started his journey about 4 years ago, 2020 to be precise, and he's done some amazing things for himself and his family. Again, another very interesting story of those that basically choose to dream and also those that choose to basically pursue their endeavors in their lives. Without further ado, Evans Willie.
Daniel Moses.
How you doing, my man?
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me here, and thank you for the introduction. It really means a lot to me.
Wow. How does it feel like 2020 to 2023? How does it really feel like looking at your journey, knowing that you basically came to property wealth 2020 and you felt like, oh, is this actually possible now to being where you are with the possibilities that you've achieved?
Yeah, I mean, prior to property, one of my mentors, Ahmed Mukhtar, one thing that he says it all the time, and that one thing resonates with me. And one thing that he said is that there are years when nothing happens in your life. And there are days when years happen. You see, for the last 3 years, I've achieved so much in the last 3 years. For me, I feel like it was always coming, but it just all hit me one after the other. So yeah, it's obviously amazing. I always obviously knew that, I will become successful. So it's kind of like something finally coming to fruition as opposed to like it's a big surprise, if that makes any sense.
Wow. I love that confidence. It wasn't surprising.
No, it's not surprising, man. I don't think anybody who's successful is successful by accident. I think everybody that's self-made, they've been put in a graph. I mean, look at yourself. I know your story. Personally, you are not successful by accident. You are not successful by osmosis. Same thing as obviously me. It's obviously years of grafting and failures that nobody sees, and a few years of shining that everybody sees.
Interestingly, I really love how you basically say that success, all right, it's not surprise. It comes with hard graft, putting in the work. And looking back, I mean, for me specifically, looking at what you've achieved in property right now, like you've done really well for yourself. Well done. And number two is that, yes, you're very correct, putting in the work. I've shared my story 1,001 times, starting from nothing to being where I am. For me, it was a bit different because I came from the point where I lost everything to building what I've built. And this is the first time I can actually look at myself and account for every single steps that I've taken to be where I am. And so, yes, you're very right. Success is not surprise. Success is based on hard work and hard graft. So tell us, how did your journey begin? How did you begin property? I remember you definitely the ACN days with Ahmed Mukhtar as well. So yeah. How did your journey begin?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I started reading a book. Somebody put me on a book called, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And it really obviously explained about, making money work for you. So, and I understood passive income through reading that book. And at the time, I was like, how do I make passive income? Well, I only know property, how you can make passive income. But at the time, I was like, I'm working on Jaguar Land Rover. I don't have money. I don't have credibility. And I definitely haven't got the know-how to do property. So I was like, that's going to be a down-the-line thing. About a week after that, someone introduced me to network marketing, MLM, ACN and stuff like that. And they, the one thing that they said that really caught my attention is they said the word passive income. I was like, wow. Like my whole life, I've never heard of this word. A week ago, I read a book that said it. And now I'm like, I'm in. So I signed up doing that. And obviously that's how, my eyes got opened up to making a recurring income. But yeah, but you know, ACN obviously, network marketing is obviously great. I think it's got the best sort of like personal development training. However, it's not the most lucrative. And the reason why it's not the most lucrative is because it's not 100% down to your efforts. And I think that was my
Yeah.
biggest concern doing it, because I was doing it for, for about 2 years and a bit. And I was doing very well myself, but my team couldn't duplicate what I was doing, right? Because they didn't have the same level of hunger as myself. But what happened is in, 2020, lockdown hits. I'm stuck at home, no money coming in. And I'm thinking like, man, I've been in this country for 7 years and I've come here to change my life around. And now I'm back to square one. I feel like a complete loser. So I started obviously watching, YouTube. But my partner Ellen, who obviously, started watching a Netflix series called Selling Sunsets. And what is that? It's about property.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, I can't believe these girls just dress nice and they make tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds for just selling the property. I am going to do that. So I said, you know what it is? I got fixated that I'm going to be doing property selling as an estate agent. And that's what I did. I obviously applied for a job as an estate agent. That went okay. That only lasts 3 months. But while I worked as an estate agent, what happened was I saw people, specifically in that area, was very Asian dominated, where I was in Slough. I saw people coming in with like a bunch of keys. One man in particular, a young guy about 30 years old, came in with a big bunch of keys. And I was thinking like, cool, man, this guy is rich. When the guy started speaking to me, I had to like ask him quite a few times to repeat himself because he could barely string a word of English. Now, for me, that was like a massive confidence boost because I'm thinking like, rah, this guy is about the same level as me. I've come in this country 7 years ago. English is our first language, but I've got a very thick solution accent at the time. I'm thinking like, man, if this guy can own all these properties, then I definitely can. This guy gave me all the belief I can. So I'm like, you know what it is? I'm going to go on the other side of the table and become a property investor. Yeah. Now I'm back to square one, going to obviously loads of property trainings and stuff like that. And I did remember that there's a guy that I was doing ACN with that was doing property. And that guy was obviously yourself, Daniel. And obviously I reached out to you and you put me on obviously doing, the rent-to-rent thing. And yeah, I did some training for yourself. It was very, very good. Got me my very first deal. And yeah, man, that's basically how I initially, got started in property.
Wow. Success leaves clues, hey?
Of course, 100%. I think if anybody has done something, 100% they can teach somebody how to do it. So yeah, 100% success leaves clues.
So just basically a bunch of keys.
Yeah.
And that, I always say this sometimes. I always say this, like, in life, all you just need is just that little moment.
Yeah.
That changes everything. It just changes everything. Bunch of keys, no word of English language. And that gave you a massive, massive, massive self-belief. Like, okay, I'm going to go and do it regardless. I'm going to find out how to do it. And you basically came to find me and, you started this journey. And look at where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy looking back now.
You pull up in the driveway with a range. Big man, big money.
Yeah, man.
Wow. I'm just so proud of what you've achieved because lockdown was a very difficult time for a lot of people. And I still remembered you basically came to the wealth and business. At that time, it was called the Rent 3 days boot camp. I can't even remember the name now.
Yeah.
It was the Rent boot camp, and you came to the Rent boot camp. You spent 3 days with myself, and I remember in that boot camp, in 30 days, you was there was about 20 people in that room that on the Zoom, and you was one of the first that secured deals 30 days.
Yeah,
and that deal was generating you £1,400 per calendar month. I still remember that video. Me, you, Elena, and eventually went to dinner or lunch after that. And now we're not talking about rent to rent. We're talking about development. We're talking about buy, refurbish, finance. We're talking about deal sourcing. Like your car just now is branded Evans Willie Properties.
Yeah.
Anything is possible, isn't it? As long as you can dream.
100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's been a cliche my whole life. People saying you can really achieve anything that you really want to. But I think it's not until you see somebody who is very similar to you that it really gives you belief that, you know what, man, if this person can do it, like, it robs you of an excuse.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people I speak to all the time, even when it gets tired, some of them don't get tired. They always have excuses. But I can't put myself in their shoes because I feel like if you've seen somebody do it, then it works then, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're not getting the results, then the problem has to be you. Right? So I think the method, seeing people and seeing that old Asian man, he wasn't old, he was about 30 years old, Asian man who could hardly speak English with obviously all the houses that he owns. I was just like, nah, man, this guy can do it. I can do it. That was all the initial belief I needed to get started. Because a lot of the time in property in particular, a lot of people can always talk themselves out of it. Oh, I haven't got the money. Oh, I haven't got the time. You can find all of those things as long as you really believe that you can do it.
One of the things I always love to share on this Wealth and Business podcast, even in my personal interview, I always like to just drill deep, because when you drill deep and be vulnerable as much as you can, people can actually understand. And you said money, big word there. When I started, I didn't have money. When you started, you didn't have money.
Correct.
I still remember, like, when you were joining, you said, I'm going to join this boot camp, but trust me, Daniel, give me 30 days. I'm going to work my butt. I'm going to work my life out because I need to just change my situation.
Yeah.
And you secured your first deal. And not just your first deal as well. You were about securing your second deal as well.
Yeah. Before,
obviously, some other things got in the way and then you moved on and so on and so forth. Yeah. So now let's kind of talk through the journey. So 2020 was a very interesting situation in your life. Correct. You got this journey started. So talk us through, how did you basically now achieve the fact that you're doing BRRs, you just told me on the backstage just now, you're looking into doing, some commercial deals, if not already starting. And as well as, you're very, active in selling deals as well. So talk us through how you basically went from one strategy to the other, to be at the point where you are now, where you're financially abundant.
Yeah, I think, when obviously, I first obviously started with you, I invested in your training. I obviously got a deal within the first 30 days that you said. I then say, cool, man, this thing actually works, because for a very long time in my life, I think one of the biggest barriers in my improvement and my success was probably money. And when I say it was probably money, it was like I was making money stop me from getting the things that I wanted. So I know that if I want to do property, I need to get trained. I need to pay someone to to do it.
Yeah.
If I want to obviously get lean, I've got to pay a personal trainer. Like now I've got a personal trainer. But for a long time in my life, I find it very hard to pay people to do it, right? It's a true story. But obviously
it's also a black people problem.
It's a black people problem, man. I'm telling you, bro. I was like, pay somebody for something I can't see. Knowledge. I'm not the guy. But obviously life pushes you in a corner where you haven't got choices, and thank God I was in a very dark situation where I was like, I've got nothing to lose, man. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like the money, I'm going to die and leave the money here anyway. I might as well obviously, invest the money in to change my life around, get a better quality of life. So long story short, obviously, you paying the money, getting my first rent, and I'm like, you know what, this thing works. So what I obviously did after that is obviously I paid some more money to another trainer and I learned about the different strategies, such as deal sourcing, such as lease options, such as BRRs. And exactly what happened. Obviously, I paid the money, I got the knowledge, and I applied myself. And now what I did then was, now I'm getting a lot more rent-to-rent deals, but rather than taking them on, I had to sell them to investors and get paid $2,000 to $3,000, by doing that. Did that a few times, used that money to take on my next rent-to-rent deal and my next one. So my strategy was to find the rent-to-rent deals, sell them, use the money from the investors to fund my next rent-to-rent deal. And that's how obviously I built the rent-to-rent portfolio. My goal was to build 20 rent-to-rents. I got up to 9 and I was making very good money off it. And I quickly realized that the same effort it takes me to find a rent-to-rent deal is the same effort it takes me to find a buy, refurbish, refinance deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like, why would I, if I'm going to put in the same effort, why don't I put the effort into this that gives me a better reward because I can actually, own the property as opposed to obviously just renting it out. So that's what obviously I did. After I obviously got to 9, I dropped down to 7 and I just focused on just packaging and just selling deals, build some cash flow.
Yeah.
And then started doing the BRL strategy. Started obviously doing small deals in Huddersfield, 75,000, 175,000, 200,000. And we're now obviously buying properties in London right now for about 400,000. We're buying one in Fulham right now for 1.2 million. That's going to be a good flip. But I've just realized that all of those, and I think, thank God, I actually did it in the way that I did it. Because when I did rent to rent, there are things I learned from rent to rents that when I did BRR, it made it easier. Because the BRRs,
bring it together.
Exactly, because the BRRs I'm doing now, I'm converting them all to HMOs, which I learned from when I was doing rent to rent. And now, obviously, from BRRs, I'm doing obviously flips now in London.
Yeah,
it's the same obviously strategy. So I'm very grateful. Obviously, I did it the way that I did it.
Yeah.
But I realize it's the same thing: rent to rent, BRR, HMO developments. Commercial to residential.
It's a transferable knowledge.
It's transferable knowledge, and I realized that cool. If I can pay and I can learn this, it's the same thing. Whether obviously you learn how to ride a bike or you learn how to find an investor to give you £200,000, it's the same thing. As long as you can learn it and you can apply yourself, you're gonna get the results.
Yeah, interestingly, there's two key words you've been using: investment, money. I paid. I'm so proud, that you're using that word. I paid, I invested, I paid and invested. And this is something a lot of people don't understand in the game. So you invested your time. You found the money, you invested in a deal. You saw the deal, you reinvested the money. You didn't rush off to holiday.
No.
Okay. All right. You didn't rush off to holiday. You didn't rush to social media, if I'm correct, to start telling people maybe you've made it so massively now, you're flying private jets and stuff which is something very common that we see, the clouds being created on social media.
Yeah.
If I'm very correct, I've not seen you do any sort of lavish stuff on social media that is unusual to me, except for the fact that you got married, right? Yeah. Congratulations on that one.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
So basically, you paid to play. Chapter number 10 of my new book specifically concentrates on how to pay to play to change. And you spoke about your ability to be able to compound those knowledge that you also got, and you basically leverage those knowledge into all different types of strategy. As a property coach myself, and I also know that you're also coaching now as well.
Yeah.
So as a property coach myself, I see a lot of newbies come through and they want to get started in property. Some of them don't have money and they want to do BRRs. Some of them have money, they want to do development and they want to do all of this. I always say, learn everything first and take the best one, build on it, and then lay the second brick, the second brick, and the second brick. And you are currently a testimonial that, yes, that works.
Yeah.
You started from rent to rent. Then you started selling. You grew your property portfolio to about 9. Then you downsized to 7. And then you went crazy on selling more deals. Then you saved more money. And now you're doing development and you just bought property, in Fulham for 1.2 million. Congratulations to you on that. For those who are listening right now and wondering, these guys, are they just talking for the sake of talking? Or actually, no, we're not, because this is a product that can show that people can invest in property, they can transform their mindset. As long as you can transform your mindset, anything is possible. Yeah. So let's talk about mindset.
Yeah.
Where did all this mindset come up from? I know you said you got to work. Mm-hmm. That allowed you to be successful because you're always going to be successful anyway because you put the work in. But how did you deconstruct your mindset and how did you get to put it in the right place?
Yeah, very good question. I think, mindset is, I think a lot of people hear that a lot of the time and it's a cliche, but they don't actually understand it or even implement it. I think having the right mindset is so important. I think my mindset came from obviously two things. Number one is being an entrepreneur majority of my life. Being born and raised in St. Lucia, 1 minute I'm washing cars for a living, 1 minute I'm cutting Mr. Johnson's hair, 1 minute I'm cutting my neighbor's grass, 1 minute I'm obviously, watching some kids, I'm a nanny. I've always been a hustler, and I think I've learned that from my mom, because my mom has been a single mom my entire life, because I'm the last kid and she's been a hustler my whole life. So I think learning from her to be an entrepreneur, that was kind of like, injected in me before I was even born, kind of thing, right? So I understand that, and then obviously coming to the UK, starting different businesses. I was obviously one minute I was doing I was a car sourcer, and the next minute I was obviously had my own printing company. I was printing on cars, I was printing on clothes, on plates, and everything like that. So I had all the machines. But why is that important? Because when I obviously had that business, for example, that printing business, to get all of the equipment, all the printing equipment, I had to invest about £2,000. And I was obviously printing on mugs, and I was selling the mugs for like £6-7. So imagine investing £2,000 and you're making like £6 a mug, and probably about only £2 is profit. But what I understood from then is that for you to obviously make big money doing business, you have to first invest first, and you're not going to get the return back immediately. You're going to get it down the line. You see, I learned obviously, for doing network marketing in AC, and I learned about business, and I learned that the average business doesn't even break even in the first 5 years. They break even, not even profit. So why is that important? Because doing property, doing rent to rent, doing deal sourcing, doing BRRs, you are a business owner.
Yes.
And it's the exact same principles. You can't obviously invest today and want to get the results today. It takes time to get the results. The biggest businesses today, that's what happened. They invested. You look at Apple, you look at all these big businesses. They invested today, but it takes sometimes decades for them to actually get results. So I understood that. And I think because I had that kind of mindset, when I got started in the rent-to-rents and I got the rejections in the first 2 to 3 weeks, I didn't quit because I knew that I'm going to get the results down the line. And I think that's what obviously kept me going.
Interestingly, how you actually said that 5 years, it takes 5 years for a business to break even.
Correct.
And these days, when you look at social media, when you look at people who are looking at getting into property, and they see your results, they see my result, they see other people's result, a lot of other property gurus who are out there. But the message being portrayed on social media is that our property is a get rich quick. Like, you can get started tomorrow, become a millionaire tomorrow. And people are falling for that they can start property in a year and become a millionaire in the same year. What's your take on that?
Man, I'm telling you something. It takes a long time to make a lot of money. It takes a very long time to make a lot of money. And I feel like you are 100% correct. I think social media portrays what they want you to see. Because nobody posts what they don't want you to see. Nobody posts the video when obviously they're crying, or when they get rejected, or when an investor pulls through. Nobody posts content on that. They only post like, hey, I got the keys. That's the most common picture you see in property. I've got the keys. But what people don't understand is how long it takes to get the keys sometimes. I was doing a BRR in Bradford, right? And it honestly took me a year and 2 months to get the keys. This landlord was giving me the runaround. He was selling to me and to somebody else. I didn't even know that. He kept avoiding my calls. But then he's going to answer. So what he was doing, he was just leading me on, but he had somebody he was selling to, right? Because that person was a friend of his, and that person was also paying more money. So that was his preference. But he kept me on the back burner just in case that person obviously fell through. God is good. That person ended up falling through.
Yeah.
Now, we obviously did the deal. So what happened is, his solicitor told my solicitor, the reason why it took so long is because he obviously was selling to somebody else. A year and 2 months. That property, after about 3 to 4 months of refurbing it, is now bringing in £4,950 every single month. Now, one property. So imagine this. The average person, they would obviously walk away from this deal from the second or the third month. It took me a year and 2 months just to actually get the keys of this property. So the point I'm trying to make is like, you have to understand, even if you match somebody who have the keys today, you got no idea how much money they've invested in training, how much time, how much rejections they've got from landlords or from agents, how they raise the money to buy the property or to obviously fund the rent. Nobody knows that, but they see the keys and they feel like, yes, it's easy, right? But I'm just a realist. I obviously don't be around the protect people as it is. Anybody can obviously do this. Any and everybody can obviously do this as long as they're willing to play the long game, because it is a long game. Yes. If you have quick success, I think it does more damage than good to you.
Yeah, you're very right. Quick success. I mean, I've been through that a lot. I've been on my journey for 20 years as an entrepreneur. There were times where I started my journey and I had quick success and I had long success. But trust me, the last 7 years, for me specifically, is when I've actually looked at myself grow. I'm like, whoops, wow. But then again, that's why entrepreneurship is a long time game. Entrepreneurship is a long time game. I teach people now, when you start, set a 5-year plan. Not 1 year, not 2 year, but evaluate twice in that 5 year. Where did you start, in the middle, and what's your 5 year looking like? Because it's so important to have that.
Yeah.
Without that, and that's the reason why a lot of people quit. And plus, a lot of trainers out there who are like, get rich quick.
Yeah.
You're gonna become wealthy tomorrow, and people love that.
They love that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. This can't be a fake. I have to tell you as it is. It's not easy. I'd rather someone not do my training, not come and sign up with me, because I'm somebody else. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because if I give you the impression that you're gonna get results quick today, right, and then you get tired with me and then you don't get results quick, then it looks bad on me, because I've given you a false sense of, belief, which is not like that. I'm telling you, I'm just real. This does take a long time.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to, man, give up everything, man. You have to be willing to do that. The amount of properties I've slept in, I've slept on the floor, I've slept on the bed with obviously no shit while I'm doing the refurb. Most people don't even know that. I've got those pictures on my phone, because I know one day when I make it, I'm gonna look back at the pictures and feel like, you know what? I was doing a refurb on a HMO in Reading a few years ago. I think 2021. That house was a mess, right? But what happened was, as soon as I got the keys, I listed the property on spare room, right? And I got somebody. They came in. The house was trashed. I'm like, listen, don't worry. Don't look at it. Don't look at it right now. Look at what it's gonna be. It's gonna look like this. Yeah. So I sold them, and they gave me a deposit in the current condition, right? But however, they gave me only a few days for them to move in. So I literally slept in this house for 2 nights. Same clothes. I didn't even shower because the water was cold. And I remember sleeping there, painting one after the other, man. And that was a very tough day. Even my partner, who's now my wife, she was there as well. And I kept saying to her, listen, baby, don't worry, man. One day we're going to do this. But the thing about it is, most people don't know those things. And most people are not willing to do that.
Yeah.
I had obviously, somebody who obviously, one of my students recently, his first property, I'm like, bro, do it yourself, man. He obviously paid someone thousands of pounds to obviously do it. And now he's obviously stuck on this one deal, because I'm like, you should have listened to what I'm telling you. Go do it yourself. Go do it yourself, because
get your hands dirty.
Get your hands dirty. And I'm not saying to get your hands dirty on everything, because now I systemize a lot of things. But I'm grateful I did it because of 2 things. Number one, I know how much it costs to get it done. So when a builder gives me a quote, I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I know how long it takes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think definitely you get inside of, be willing to do whatever it takes. If you're willing to do whatever it takes, right? Then you are almost guaranteed to becoming successful. There's not a doubt. Your results are predictable.
Yeah. Wow. I really love that. I honestly really, really love that. Wow. What a massive personal development I see. What a lot of successes that I hear, and what a lot of good, what you're saying, because I totally like agree with every single thing that you've come out of your mouth, because without having the mindset to grow, without getting your hands dirty, raising finance, all these different things that you've just said, I totally agree, with it. But it takes a lot of work to get to that level, so massive well done on you, Evans.
Thank you, man.
Massive well done on you. Really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. So moving away from the topic about the mindset, how you got started. Let's talk about where you are now in your journey. So where exactly are you now in your journey now?
So right now I'm sitting on your couch doing this podcast.
Wait, okay. Let's go this. How does this feel that once upon that was my mentor, and now I'm sitting here and this guy. Let's quickly share that.
Nah, man, it's a good feeling, man. It's a good feeling. And as I said earlier on, it's a lot easier when you see somebody who looks like you, talks like you, have got the same sort of struggles like you, achieve success. It gives you the utmost belief. And obviously, when I got started, you were massive, obviously, inspiration. So, I do appreciate that. Yeah, it's a great feeling, man. But as I said earlier on, it's one of those things I always knew was going to happen.
I'm the most excited. I swear to God, I'm the most excited. The reason why I'm the most excited, Evans, is, like when you're a granddad,
Yeah.
And when you're a granddad, you have a son. Your son then have children, and he brings the children to the house to play with granddad.
Yeah.
Inside my belly,
Got you.
I'm so humbled. Do you know why? Because what that tells me is if I didn't believe in myself in 2017, 16, when I first started, and then you saw me as an inspiration in 2020 and you got your journey started, and today, if I'm right, you have a small portfolio now of over £1 million or so?
Yeah. Just over £1 million, yeah.
Over
£1
million.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. And here's the thing though, and here's the good thing about obviously, what you missed. What you missed is that me seeing you, that gave me inspiration. But now me getting started up, I go to almost majority of property networking events I go to. Everywhere I go, there's somebody who who knows me, who's seen my story and be like, Evans, I got started off because of you. So it's the ripple effect of it. When you become successful, that's what I tell people, it's so important to go through wherever you have to go through.
Yeah.
Because what you don't see and what you don't know is the amount of lives that you are going to change without you even knowing that you're doing that.
Yeah.
It's the amount of people that need to see you win for them to win.
So England's population is 66 million.
Yeah. Growing.
And growing. There's prediction that by 2033, it's going to be over 73 million people. Currently, the black or ethnic minority statistics is around over 6 million. Let's just say, if I'm very right, they said black people were just around about 1 point something to 2 million.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, whether it's 100 people, whether it's 200, whether it's 300, whether it's 400, whatever that number looks like, that becomes aware of your journey, that gets inspiration from your journey because you invested in yourself, because you started, because you saw someone else, I saw someone else. And it's just a chain of success and growth that allows young guys like yourself, like, you know what, I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to go and do it. And that's the ripple. That is the even greater definition of the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Because they said if you are in a city where everybody's blind, all right, and you're the only man that's seeing, basically you're blind yourself.
Of course. That's a very good one. I've never heard that one before. No, I've never heard that.
That's the Nigerian one, right?
Okay, cool.
That's the Nigerian proverb right there. It's the truth. Because if only you want, sir, if you are the only person that is successful around your community, you're poor.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to drag you, drag you. And that's what you mean right there. Because now you go everywhere, you share your story, people are like, oh yeah, Evans. And again, there are people that will relate to you and not probably relate to me, and people that will relate to me and not probably relate to you. And that's why we share our stories, isn't it?
Correct. 100%. 100%.
Wow. So back to what we're saying. Back in my house, in my sofa.
Yeah.
Now talking about your success, where exactly are you?
Yeah, man. So where I'm now, I mean, number one, obviously, I've got my property investing business, which is obviously going very well. I actually just got my mortgage broker calling me just now and told me that a house I bought for 75,000 in end of January, spent 25 grand on it, is now worth 200 grand. So I've just made £100,000 just by adding value to the house. So I'm heavily obviously doing buy, refurbish, refinance, and also flipping. As I just mentioned, we have obviously just over 1 million portfolio, but that doesn't even include the ones that we currently buy now, which I can't really count because anything can happen until.
And sometimes you can also sell as well, isn't it? Because it goes up and down. Yeah,
100%. And I mean, loads of people have been asking me, Evans, to help them. So since January, I started obviously my own trading company. And there's a plethora of students that has had success. I'm now obviously doing sales training because people are like, Evans, you're very good at selling, man. You need to teach people how to sell. So that's something I'm very passionate about now. So I've got a sales training company. The goal and the vision is to obviously go into corporate companies, go into car dealerships and teach them about sales and stuff like that. So I think I am a lot more passionate now about helping people. It's a lot better feeling than saying, hey, I've just made 100 grand today from, a refinance, which is good. It's a very good feeling. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the same feeling as someone saying, you know what, Evans, because of you, I'm now obviously able to leave my job or help my wife or stuff like that. It's the gratitude from that really gives me life. So that's kind of like where a lot of my effort is as well.
You know what? You're very right. it's okay to make the money, but someone saying because of you, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, you're very, very right, honestly, because looking at what you just said now, and I said this somewhere. I can't remember where I said it. I told someone, I said, getting into property was like divine. But one of my mentors, once upon a time, is going to be, you know, I've not seen him for a while. One of my mentors, one of my very, very first mentors. He said the first time he saw me, I was in a room of 40 people. And out of that 40 people, I was the only one that's gone out to do what I'm doing. And because of me that has gone out that he can point to, a lot of other people's life has been changed because he tells them about Daniel. No, Daniel was right here and he started this and look at him now. And that's the beauty of this, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you know, you saw me in 2020, you got started. People are seeing you in 2023 and they're getting started.
Yeah.
You see the chain? It's,
Yep.
it's like, it's a circle, isn't it?
Yep.
So, and that is the power of, you know, success. So, true meaning of success is the impact that you're having on people.
Yeah.
True meaning of success is people who lost belief in themselves
Yeah.
and pick up themselves and did it because of you did.
Yeah.
So, and that is the biggest part of wealth creation.
Oh,
and at the moment,
200%.
there's not a lot of black people.
There's not a lot. And that's why, obviously, when you invited me to come down, I was obviously, you know, to me, it was a no-brainer because I think, and I say it all the time, there's a lot more things that can happen with a collaboration. And I think I look at majority of the different races. I look at Asians. I've got loads of Asian friends, right? Majority of them are successful. But why are they successful, though? When you really dissect into it, you realize that they all work together, right? They have a house. 5 different families live in the house. You know, what they do, they stay together. This one buys a house. This one starts a business. They all work together. Their heads are together. They're in unison, right? But as black people, right, unfortunately, we are not like that. You know, this one wants to go and do this one. That one wants to do this one. Nobody wants to share. And I've realized in business, I think in my personal life, my mom was always like, don't ask anybody for help. But in business, that's not how it works.
No, you need help.
You need help. You can't do it by yourself. And I think, you know, you're 100% correct. As black people, we have got so much natural ability, man. We have obviously...
We got the numbers.
We have the numbers and we have the quality and we have the work ethic. But why are we not succeeding as the others? I think it's about collaboration, you know, working with each other. Being okay to get half of the bread than trying to do everything to get the bread, you know, one bread yourself. But to get the one bread for yourself, you have to do so much, spend so much time, so much effort. Whereas if you get half the bread and you put half the work, it means you can get 4 bread. Half of 4 bread, you now have 2 bread. So I think the point I'm trying to make is like, it's so important to collaborate with people, you know, and that will get you further because all of the other races are doing it. Why are us black people are not doing it?
Yeah. Absolutely. All the other races are doing it. Why else they're not doing it? And you're very, very, very correct on that one. So I'd like to ask you something. Looking at where you are now and where you're going, what is the next 5 years like for you? What is the next 2.5 years like for you?
That's a very good question, Dan. And the truth is, I've kind of like changed the way that I structured a little bit. I don't actually, believe it or not, I don't actually have got a 5-year plan. I obviously have a plan for the next year. And I feel like I've changed that in the last 4 years. I've changed that strategy. And the reason why I've changed it is because when I say I have a plan for 10 years, I am not motivated to get off the couch right now. I'm like, oh, I've got 10 years to do it, so I'm going to do it next month or next week. But when I say a plan for the next year, I need to get off the couch right now in order to achieve that plan for next year. Don't get me wrong. I've got a ballpark figure of where I would like to be in 5 years, but all my energy and focus is on, you know, on the next year, on the next 12 months. So, I mean, from where I'm seeing right now, you know, the goal is to keep doing what I'm doing now, but also get the word out a lot more. I think I will be obviously going to places like the Caribbean, you know, and teaching them about property and about sales, because I think those are 2 valuable skills and qualities that anybody in any culture, in any part of the world, if they know about those 2 things, they can change their life around. It doesn't matter how much money that they
Property
have.
selling, property investment, development, and then sell, communication.
Yeah, you need those two things, 100%. I think if you have got one and you haven't got the other, you can survive. But if you have got both, you can really be superior. So my goal is to obviously go back to to the Caribbean. Definitely, obviously, blow it up here. There's a lot more people that need to hear. And my goal is not to get everybody to do property or get everybody to learn how to sell. But my goal is to let them know. Because growing up, I never had options. I never knew about sales. I never knew about property.
Yeah.
Because, the only people around me was obviously people wanting to do football or rapping or selling drugs. But it's only lately I understood that anybody can obviously build a property business. Anybody can obviously learn about sales. And if you can learn about sales, you can change your life around forever. So I think the goal for the next 12 months is to really expand, go corporate, go international, help, and just put the word out there.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Put the word out there, go back and give back and impact as many, many, many lives as possible internationally. And that is the beauty of becoming a person of value right there.
Yeah.
Because when you become a person of value, especially for the fact that you are you're from the Caribbean, that is a market.
Yeah.
And if you also then look at your local community here, being in England as well, that is also another different market. And if you can tap into both, the better for you, so that you can make one impact one at a time.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you. So now let's just drop back quickly. So because I know we mentioned so many things, because I'm trying to catch up over 3 years of not.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up of 3 years we've not had this opportunity to sit down.
Yeah.
We've not had this opportunity to have this, have conversations, like this. So it's good to kind of just see where you are, where you've been, what's your vision, and where you're going to. Now, so my next question to you would be that, a lot of people, in terms of collaboration that you mentioned collaboration is powerful. In what way do you think Black people in business, in property, needs to collaborate a bit more?
Well, I think, they should collaborate in every way that they possibly can. Because let's say, for example, right? And I see it happen a lot of the times, which baffles me, The thing about us is that if you are somebody, if you have got money, you got a job, the reality of it is the money in your account is going to leave your account anyway. You can do whatever you want. You can watch it, you can refresh it every single day. It will leave your account, right? That's a given, right?
You're going to spend it.
You can spend it. But I currently live, right now I live in Canary Wharf, right? Right now in Canary Wharf, it's an eye-opening living there, because I'll tell you why. I am seeing loads of developments, one after the other, building in Canary Wharf. So obviously, the other day I spoke to one of the site managers and find out a little bit more about who's doing those developments and who is their market, who they're selling to. I realized that the person obviously who's actually the one doing the development is a Chinese guy. Is a Chinese man, right? Who is the market that he's selling to? He's selling the apartments off plan in China. Right? So he's selling the properties to people in China. They buy the flats in Canary Wharf. And most of them haven't even been there. What happens is they send their family to live there. They send the kids to live there. And in the building I'm living, I think I'm probably one of like 3 Black people in the building. The whole building is Chinese people. Why am I saying that to you? Downstairs, there's a whole Chinese complex, Chinese restaurant, Chinese shops. For a minute, actually, am I in England or am I in China? Why am I saying that to you? Because I really watch, why is China one of the wealthiest countries in the whole world? Why? Because they do everything in-house. All of the money they spend, all of the collaboration that they do, everything is with Chinese people. So here's my point. If you're a Black person, you have got money, you're going to spend money anyway. But if you have a choice to spend the money with another Black person like yourself, why not do that? Why obviously spend it with the agent? No, listen, I'm not a racist person. My wife is obviously white. But what I'm saying is, one thing that Black people can obviously do to improve the Black community is, why don't we obviously spend
within each other?
Why don't we spend with each other? If you're going to be doing property trading anyway, why don't you go to a Black property trainer? If you're going to be doing driving lessons, why don't you go to because all the other cultures are doing it. Why are we not doing it? So within property, if you want to do property, there's many ways to collaborate. There's a Black trainer, you're Black, go to the Black trainer. right? You got money, you haven't got the time, you haven't got the knowledge to invest. Why don't you find a black property investor who's obviously killing it, give him the money, you guys can partner together. Whether it be a joint venture and you guys share everything in the middle, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I do that sometimes. That's one of the ways you can obviously do it. If you're a property trader, he's a property trainer, find out, is there a way you can work together? What is it that you have that he hasn't got? What is it that you have that he hasn't got? And find a way to do it. Because I'm sure, like right now, there's loads of obviously different property traders, for example. If they all come together, we can build one of the largest property trading companies in the UK.
For black people as well.
For black people, right?
True. Right.
But that never happened because he wants to do it. He wants to. And listen, I'm not against anybody obviously wanting to do their own thing. I'm totally, like, it's completely fine. But I'm saying for us to make a massive change as black people, especially in this country, I think the way is to stick within. See how we can work together. Let's take the pride and the ego out of the way. And let's look at the big picture of how it can impact our people the most.
Very, very. I really love how you said that. For me personally, I have had conversations with people, but sometimes it's always been like, in terms of business and, collaborating as training, it's been like, but the beauty is 80% of my clients are blacks. But I think we could get more.
Yeah.
And again, black people don't like celebrating black people.
No.
We don't really like celebrating black people. I think there should be more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all these other guys who are doing so well in business, who are celebrating them the most? It's their people.
It's their people. Of course.
Because we can help ourselves.
Of course.
Get ourselves to go viral.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Listen, man, when I obviously got started in property, and when I saw people, and there were not many black people obviously doing property at the time, but when I saw one black person doing it, I'm like, you know what? That's all the belief that I need to do it, right? A lot of black people in particular, they'll see somebody doing well, and they're going to be like, oh, what a waste, man, what a wank. Oh, he thinks he's this, he thinks he's that. Why would you look at it that? Why can't you look at it like, you know what? If this guy can live in Canary Wharf, if this guy can drive a Range Rover, if this guy can have this, I can as well. Look at it that way. Look at it as inspiration and not like envy, And that's my motto. Anybody I see do well, especially if they look like me, I'm like, you know what? I feel good for them. And good for me as well, because that makes me believe that I can do it as well. But it's all about how you look at the cup. Do you look at the cup half empty or do you look at the cup half full? Most people who are struggling in life, they struggle because of the way they think. They look at everything from a negative lens.
Absolutely.
And I think if they just change that, just slightly get a slight paradigm shift and look at things half full, which is a positive lens, everything can change for them. Wow.
Powerful. Definitely, this man, this guy, you've turned something else, man.
life experiences.
Wow, look at you, Evans, man. You've turned you're like a lion. You're like a lion. I love that lion spirit that's coming out of you, and it's going to really take you far.
Appreciate it.
So as we go through the end of this podcast, just a few things that I want to ask you now is, first of all, for anyone literally still thinking with the current market situation, people are like, oh, the interest rates are going crazy. I'm not able to do deals. People are like, oh, is rent to rent still working? We're having a conversation earlier about rent to rent. So for me, my opinion on rent to rent still remains the same. Rent to rent is the easiest entry point for anybody looking to getting started in property. Controlling other people's property is the easiest way to getting started in property. Yeah. So my question to you is, rent to rent, is this still alive? You have been, going to networking events, and like you said, sharing with people. Is rent to rent still alive? Is this still something that people in your community, all right, at the moment are still winning in? Because my community are winning. Yeah. Is your community winning?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Listen, man, property is one of the best industries in the world, man. Because wherever the market is, man, it works. Let me prove to you why rent to rent still works right now. Has interest rates gone up? Of course. It's sky high right now, as the highest it's ever been, right? Best rate is 5%. Yes, that's a fact. So what does that mean for you? If you are an opportunist, if you are someone who finds opportunities, you'll find the opportunity in the problem and not the problem in the opportunity. So if interest rates are high, that means landlords' rents are obviously going high. That means they can't no longer put a family in there and just break even because they need to generate more income to cover the mortgage. So that's where you come in as a as a renter. You can get super rent because you can rent it out per night. You can rent it out per room. So you can now afford to offer the landlord more than what a family can afford to offer the landlord. So is that a great opportunity? Of course. So of course it works. People are like, oh, is it a good time to buy properties right now because interest rate is high? Okay, cool. It is a good time to buy. Why? Because landlords some of them need to sell it because they can't find a renter. So they can't get the rent to keep paying the mortgage. So they haven't got no other choice but to sell it. Right? They go sell it, you come in, you offer them obviously a below market value offer. They have to accept because what's the other option? There's always an opportunity in a problem. Yes, we have got very high interest rates, but what is the opportunity? Now is the best time to get into property. The best time is always now.
Absolutely. I always say the best time to get into property was 20 years ago. All right. The best time to get started in property.
And the next best time is now.
And the next best time is now. And then look at you. The best time for you to start was 2020, my man.
2020, yes.
And now you said, my property portfolio is in excess of over 1 million.
Yeah.
So people could have sat down in 2020 during lockdown and not start.
Yes.
But you started, you took action. Now you have a personal property portfolio in excess of 1 million, and as well as you have done multiple different property strategy. What an action taker you are. I always knew you're going to be an action taker anyway. What an action taker you are.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man.
Wow. Just one final question. Anytime I see any of my old graduates come through, I always ask them, was I a good mentor?
Yeah, of course.
Please tell the camera if I was a good mentor.
Yeah, of course, man. Daniel is Daniel, innit? You might like him or not like him, but at the end of the day, does he have to get results? 100%. Of course, you're a good mentor, man. I think you're just obviously you're very likable, cool guy. And I think
I'm very easygoing.
It's always easier when someone's done something already. When they've done something already, it's like, whether you like what they're telling you, but what they're telling you, it works.
It works.
Because it worked for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer, 100%.
Great. I can't wait to do more stuff with you, Evans, because honestly, one of the things that you said just now make a lot of sense. And I cannot wait for us to do something together. And fingers crossed, probably after this podcast, we're going to have a chit chat on the background and see what we can also do together. When we come together, like me, one of the things, I'm not a young dude like that. I'm 43 years old now. And
no, but you don't look it, man. You look younger than me.
Actually, you look older than me.
I know, that's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't really mean nothing, man.
You actually look older than me. I look a bit younger, right? So for me, life is all about fun. Life is all about happiness. And it's all about, yes, when we do come together, a lot can happen. There's over 6 point something million. I'm actually going to check that data. It's over 6.6 million of Black people in the United Kingdom. That's number one. Yeah. However, statistics has also shown that Black people are the poorest on the world, statistics from the National Data Statistics Office. I actually looked at that data. The last time I looked at it was about a couple of months back. It still shows that Black people are the worst, poorest, financially in this country, with an average of a Black household standing around about £42,000 income. So there's work to be done.
True.
I alone can't reach all of them.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you alone can't reach all of them. Nope. So the more we try and get to that, bring knowledge to them, bring wealth creating strategies. I remember when I was getting started in rent-to-rent many years ago, somebody said to me, it's a scam. And somebody actually said to me, oh, it's not for Black people. I think I've mentioned over and over and over again, this thing you're talking about, Daniel, it does not, they work, it doesn't work. But look at where I am. Look at where you are. Yeah. It works. Yes. It's all about action.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Knowledge
Evans, thank you so much for being here. Is there any word you'd like to leave?
If anybody's obviously watching this, have watched this whole podcast, I think, you are basically robbed of an excuse why you can't do the same thing. And that's the goal. That's my goal. I know that's Daniel's goal, is to help and impact.
Dr. Daniel.
Dr. Daniel's goal.
You forgot that.
Right? It's, our goal is to help and impact people.
Yes.
And I think if you're watching this video and you want to get started in property, let me ask you, let me just give you some advice. Give yourself the best chance you can to win. Because if you're a Black person or if you're a minority person, it's harder, is the truth. Is it impossible? No, but it's harder, right? So you want to give us the best chance possible to win. So give yourself the best chance possible to win. Get educated. Find somebody who's obviously done it to hold your hand and to support you. But most importantly, that's not enough. You need to go out there and implement it. If you can do those 3 things, then your result is predictable. And I hope to see you, at some one of my events. Just come back and tell me, Evans, because of this podcast, it helped. But I appreciate all of you guys for obviously watching.
Fantastic. Evans, my man. It's been good having you on the Wealth and Business Podcast.
Thank you, my brother.
Guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Make sure that you go and check in on the show notes at the end of this video, on the bottom of the link. Just basically get yourself into a knowledge mood. Get yourself registered to one of our free property masterclass where we are helping entrepreneurs become property investors. We're helping professionals become property investors. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone, and God bless.